I'm not on that, so who's chairing it?
I don't know.
That's a good.
And I have to go put more money unless I should go do it now. I've got enough money till 2 o'clock.
That's the.
James, who's the chair of this?
We didn't pick one.
Why not?
I don't know.
Who's on it?
Who's on this committee here? I have it here. I should have.
Yeah, we have Bert, Justin. Can you all hear us on there?
Yes, we
Bert?
can.
Yep.
Justin, hi.
Hello.
I guess we're waiting for a couple more people. I don't know, Ann Wenkert had said that she was going to arrive. And who else? Ann, you're on this? Okay, so Ann Schneider's here. And Janet, you're on this committee or no?
I'm not sure if I'm on it or not. I had originally signed up, so I'm not sure if I'm officially on it. But
I think you signed up. I think you are.
So, Ann Leader,
Schneider.
Sam, and Sue.
Sue Degree is not here. I think we made her the chair of this. Maybe not.
I don't have notes. I don't know if we did it or not.
Well, why don't we get started? You guys are very kind. Do we have a quorum? It doesn't really matter.
And I know that Linda was going to join,
Pop back.
and I think Kathleen is going to call in.
Okay. Well,
those are the only outstanding that we have.
so the follow-up from our May 4th meeting is the edits that James has given us here. I have to be honest, and I have not read through it.
Great. So then what we were going to do is just kind of go through them. So in front of everybody is our track changes version of it. And so
James.
what I did was I took a few of the takeaways from last time. I think we got about maybe 2/3 through the whole document. With some edits here and there, some additions, and so and then what I've also done is I've had Justin go through it also, make a few edits on there, make a few additions. So
So if we just start with the first page after the cover letter,
sure.
Cover sheet.
Yeah.
You delete, this is some just typos or typographical
Yeah, just
edits.
if it doesn't really say anything, it just means like I removed a space or something like that.
Okay.
So what you want to pay attention to is anything that's in the body that's red or blue, and that's taken out, or
Create
kind of
name
strike through on it. I think so. Yeah. So I think for like the administrative items, we kind of beefed up a little bit on the website maintenance.
So you added create and maintain a dedicated resource page for FAA initiatives.
We
Okay.
talked about that last time.
Okay. And all the rest. Okay. So
So one of the items I'll point out is on page 4, the AI4, and this is kind of a little bit what we were talking about.
Okay, AI4.
Yeah, what we're talking about a little bit in legislative in regards to doing more outreach with regional roundtables. Before it just said Oakland and potential Santa Clara. We decided to, based off of our conversations from last time, broaden that up. Regional roundtables / noise forum. So this kind of dovetails into what we were talking about earlier today with the legislative group that gives us some, as a goal, really kind of reaching out to, in the region.
In the Bay Area.
Yeah, so there wasn't too much for us to add in the text. It was actually pretty, covers most of it. We just basically cleaned up a little bit in there. But basically, the title itself sort of speaks to the whole.
Yeah, regional roundtable. Okay.
The next item, AI5, develop relationships with state and national.
Okay.
And that also
That went into this.
based off of what we had talked about.
Okay.
One item, AI7, Justin took a stab at this here. What it originally was is send roundtable coordinator to LAX Community Noise Roundtable. We had that a number of years ago just to attend their meetings, give a briefing on what we're up to, but also take note on what they're up to and report back to us. Justin added the San Diego Airport Noise Advisory Committee as well.
Is that the SAN?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we could, instead of just the acronym, define it, because I think not everybody knows.
Yes, thank you. And then I get exactly what does that mean? Can I just ask? This is Janet here. I'm just asking, what does that mean? Just send it, is it someone from this group that you designate to go, or?
Well, so what it was originally was to send both the coordinator, which is myself, and the technical consultant. And at that point, Cindy with BridgeNet was in Southern California. What Justin, I don't know if you remember during the legislative meeting, he's already attending those.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
You want to chime in on that, Justin?
Yeah, I attend both. I'm actually part of the ANAC, is what they call it in San Diego. I sit on the panel as the technical acoustical guy, is my unofficial title. But I'll be happy to, continue participating in those and sharing any information that comes out of that.
Good. Okay.
Oh, he's in
He's our
okay.
Justin. So just for your information, guys, Ann Wenger has arrived and Linda Wolin has joined us. And on the phone we've got Bert and Justin. Anybody else?
Justin's our new consultant.
Yeah, Justin will.
We
need Justin.
No.
We have a member of the public, Mary Jo Freeman,
No.
who is listening in. Bert is on and Justin is on.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, that was kind of the idea with that. So to answer Janet's question, it could be either the consultant or the coordinator. So he's already in place to do that.
Thank you.
I think what my involvement might be is if there was maybe a more formal presentation about what we're doing, then I would be, say that.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Question, and this goes back to actually agenda or work plan A1, roundtable website maintenance. If we're branching out or reaching out to the other roundtables, do we want to provide a link of who they are on the website?
We could, yeah.
So I would just, so that means an additional bullet point for A1-1.
Great, maintain dedicated resource for, okay.
At least then people can see who we might, and maybe they'll have suggestions of if there's a new roundtable that we're not aware of, contact us at.
So AI1, your first name is just another bullet point, reports that,
I would just maintain a list of other roundtable contact information. I mean, if it's just a URL, San Diego, here's the URL, you can see what they're working on. LAX, here's what they're working on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Not that you would have to do much.
No,
hopefully.
but it would be kind of a directory along the lines of us already gathering that
Yes.
information for
The
other
legislature.
efforts.
Yep.
James,
Other, yes.
if you include such a hyperlink, would it, and someone clicks on it, would it flash that thing that you are now leaving such and such site? Only because we don't want to be responsible for
Mhm.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good comment. Yeah.
Is that a county?
Is the roundtable considered a county website? No, it's privately.
Kind of our own
Maybe,
thing.
never mind.
Okay.
It's not a bad idea, though.
That's it.
No,
I
it
mean,
isn't a bad
typically, you
idea.
never want to send somebody off your site, but in this case, we're assisting in being public.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think we have other items on the website that links.
That link to other things.
Link to
Okay,
other
never
stuff,
mind.
not Where did I?
Okay.
So we were A7.
Thank you. So, and Justin included links to both those
Mhm.
LAX and San Diego noise.
Are
Yeah.
those the only two we're currently?
In the ledge
Oakland.
committee, we just kind of,
Just added.
yeah,
Did you?
and then Oakland.
Oakland, I was going to say, we've always had a historical relationship with Oakland. And potentially a newly forming San Jose.
That was
Right. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, in the
That's
ledge committee,
another
we
work
were
plan
we were
item.
saying the
Yeah.
Metroplex area.
once a year joint meeting. I mean, if there are 3 groups and we're working with them, I don't know where it fits, but you would think once a year it would be a joint.
Yeah, at least.
That'd be quite a room to put everybody in it, but.
I want to have to publicly notice that.
Heard you say that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the logistics involved.
Logistics. Nightmare.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you pick a date and just say, this is it.
There you go. Just pick it.
You there or not?
Well, would that be part of AI4, which is the outreach to regional roundtable of noise forums?
That could be. That would, or such as the Oakland International Airport. Yeah.
When opportunities exist, consider a joint meeting, something along those lines. We can clean that up.
So in the first sentence,
Mhm.
continue dialogue with other noise forums within the Bay Area, and you've got the parens such as Oakland. But could you just not say like IE and then
You're
list the
saying
ones?
including.
Yeah,
Including Oakland.
including Oakland,
San
San
Jose,
Jose.
Another regional.
I
local
would
and
I would
regional.
list at least those two,
Yeah.
I agree.
including Oakland,
I would say,
San Jose. Sacramento.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
were we A7?
Yeah.
That's where you were, yeah.
So AIE, the NOISE. So Justin and I chatted a little bit, and I believe he was going to reach out and get some information in regards to this a bit more, because I think in the past the sticking point was that in order to participate as one of their members, they did have a pretty steep fee for us to participate, partly because they go off of the population of your city, but because we're not really a city, we're a much bigger organization.
Jurisdiction.
So we never really circled back with that a number of years when we were looking into that. So Justin, did you get any word back from them?
I got a promise that they were going to give me a call today. I haven't received anything yet, but they did say they would get a hold of me so they could give me more information about that.
Can't she use the unincorporated population?
Well, okay.
You did not hear that.
It's just that we haven't participated with them in such a while. So
Yeah.
I don't know what our original, our participation looked like. But
Well, that would be actually the first question is,
Yeah, what,
I assume, Justin, that's included in what you're doing. This is Linda, is to see if it would be useful for us to be participating with them.
yeah.
Clearly, from
I
the
was, yeah.
So just let me just make this point. Clearly, from the legislative committee, they would, this kind of goes right to what the legislative committee is wanting to do on a national
Right.
Arena. And I guess cost is a factor, but it would be, I think, important for us to be involved. I don't know that we've ever been involved since I've been on the roundtable.
It's been quite a number of years.
Was it on your work program for the Ledge Committee today?
It was not.
No,
but it was
not this
discussion that came.
specific, but the Ledge Committee wants to know what Washington DC based organization with are out there having to do with federal agencies and congressional items and things like that.
And we did talk about how to work with other areas, other roundtables or other areas to push things along, whatever those
But
things
not to
might
the
be.
level of joining their
Group.
But we think that it's about $5,000 annually.
I believe
to
that
be
was the
part of
last
that?
check that we
Oh.
had. When we checked in as far as what the membership was. But so,
And that would be prorated by cities, by population?
No.
I mean, that's not a lot of.
no,
No,
I think
our budget.
right,
just our budget.
and I think we're kind of a unique entity. So that's what part of Justin's inquiry is, to see where we fall into that, because it's pretty cut and dry that it's just like, well, if your city's population is within these brackets, but we're not. We're sort of a different
Hybrid.
Yeah, so we'll see where that goes. But this was a holdover from the last couple of years, and we just never really followed up with it fully. So I think we wanted to keep it on there, and definitely can be an agendized items for the legislative group.
yeah,
But we wanted to make sure that we had the right numbers and everything before we do that. So hopefully that's information that Justin can get.
August.
Yeah, verify. And then also be able to report and discuss at the legislative subcommittee if that's something that is valuable to the
Yeah, I'd like to know on the basis of exactly what is the value of being a member versus can you attend any of their functions, you know, in the audience just to learn, but what is the?
I might step back from this issue. I didn't think about it when we reviewed it last time. But really the issue is we want help with the federal lobbying
Right, right.
as a group. So the high level question is this the group to help us with that, or is there some other way?
Hence your lobbyist.
Yeah, so Justin, this is Linda again, I might want to have a conversation with you offline about that.
No problem. I understand where you were going.
Yeah.
And was
So I
that,
wonder if we should keep the work plan document more general and say, however you want to say it, but that the roundtable wants to take a more proactive role in lobbying our federal representatives and federal agencies on our priorities, and will seek the best forum which to do that, which may include joining, you don't even have to mention this group, but may include joining a group. Okay. Or some.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, okay. Basically generalizing this, but then utilizing such as groups.
Maybe,
Yeah,
something like that, but just rather than.
Basically trying to say, investigate opportunities that the roundtable could be proactive in legislative.
Advocacy, something like that, at the federal
That could be
level.
regulatory too. So
Yeah, right.
legislative
Yeah,
and
it could be
regulatory.
regulatory.
I mean, because, not for in writing, but just what I'm thinking about is that, you know, League of Cities have federal lobbyists, counties have federal lobbyists, there's other connections.
It might be nice to know who are the various entities, and which came up, I'm not sure if you were in the room yet this morning.
Yeah, so,
Who could be that lobby, the various lobbying.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking this would be in that agenda, I mean, part of your work program for the Ledge Committee, just is
Or
obviously.
maybe you can even say that as a work plan, which is that the ledge committee will.
Legislative committee will
That'll work.
do the research relative to
That'll
what
work.
advocacy groups are available.
That would work.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah, it is.
It sounds like you would have.
General, then you don't have to
Yeah,
necessarily
This may be
have a
one.
budget or have the name of an organization in the work plan document to be approved.
yeah, I wouldn't. That would just,
Justin, are you aware of other groups that are active in this arena? Advocacy groups?
Other than like AAAE or ACI, I'm not.
What are those groups?
What are those
Then
groups?
we're all
Okay. AAAE and ACI are just organizations that American Association of Airport Executives, and ACI is
Airport Council International.
Thank you, Bert.
From our same perspective.
Right.
what was
At least the
what was
first one.
ACI again? Airport, what?
Council International.
Council.
Okay.
Bert, in your experience, are those advocacy groups?
Uh-huh.
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
It didn't
No.
sound like it. That's why I was,
Thank you.
sound like more of an
More
executive.
executive type of
It's more how to run your airport, how to do well with your airport.
material.
Operational.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, as far as the political advocacy groups, I would say NOISE is a good one. Although it sort of comes and goes on how it works. And in the past, it wasn't connected to lobbyists or anything like that I was aware of.
Okay.
Well, anyway, like I said, if you
I
keep it
think
general,
keep it
you don't have to
I agree.
All right, so basically what I'm
get
doing,
into it here.
I created some notes here, so I'm going to try to change this whole item to be more something like opportunities for proactive legislative/regulatory advocacy. Mention these groups and we'll basically take this and generalize it to explore opportunities for proactive legislative/regulatory advocacy and to be executed effort through the legislative committee. So something along those lines.
And also, too, James, if you want to reach out to Dave Carbone, see what he organized for the payment for the roundtable on NOISE.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it, though?
It was, but if he had some creative way of structuring it and could come back in on that at a reasonable rate, there's nothing wrong with that.
You think he'd talk to us since we didn't hire him?
Oh, yeah. He'd be flattered you reached out to him for his thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Because there's always next year, or the next year.
Okay.
Hi, folks. I'm sorry to be rudely late. This is Kathleen Wentworth.
Hello,
And
Kathleen.
two more people entered the room here.
We have,
And I will be rudely leaving you in about a half an hour anyway for another meeting.
So we'll put that in the minutes.
so we have a
I'll hang
couple public members that joined us, Jennifer Landisman and
Lydia Koo
from
from
Palo
Alto.
Alto.
Hi,
Okay,
ladies.
okay.
James is in the minority here today.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So we have a whole new item next.
And
who's on the phone? Sorry, Bert and Justin and Kathleen, is that it? Yes.
Okay. Moving forward, whole new item, AI 9, is, we had talked about this last time about maybe developing a communications and educational strategy. So I kind of just took a stab at sort of generalizing a little bit what that goal was and what that potentially could look like. But I think what I caught last time was that the roundtable wanted to explore and develop intuitive and easy to understand communication tools to discuss, deliver aviation noise studies, reports, relevant information to the public.
Practicable. Sure. Probably not as good.
I was just did a brain dump into that, so by all means,
Okay.
any other way we want
Crossable, I love that. Clear and better understanding. Crossable, I love that. That's perfect. But that is a good statement.
And do you have a comment on this A on 9?
Well, it
Starts
just
here,
started
and-
here, and
Yeah,
then
it's just right here, and then it
This
goes
is
up
the
to
part.
here.
look at the second half.
Yeah. It's a new item, and I think we were talking about how can we develop easy to understand reports, easy to communicate.
I want to re-edit.
To engage.
So I want to re-edit that sentence. I'm not exactly too sure how, but where I was coming from with that is I think what I want to try to do is create a sense of, I don't know if the word empowering is right, but I want to be able to have community members feel like they understand the information enough to be able to participate and feel like they understand, rather than coming in and saying, well, I don't understand this and I don't, I can't follow along with that. Basically sort of giving the tools to be able to contribute in a meaningful way, and also have them walk away feeling like
they're a little more empowered.
Yeah, so that was kind of where I was going with that.
The idea here is that it's going to be all electronic, James, meaning
Yeah,
it's all populating the website. I mean,
yeah, and it will probably dovetail into the first item, which is the website one. I mean, I think that would be sort of the main portal that we would do that. But I think, I think really the bigger picture about this item is kind of taking a step back about, reports that get produced and, the information that we put out there, put in the packets and everything, kind of has the lens of, is this understandable? Is this digestible? Is this something that, somebody can say, okay, I see what they mean, and okay, now I have a suggestion based off of my understanding of that.
can't we just say that we will endeavor, rather than saying we want to ensure that those who participate, because we can't really be responsible for them, but that we will endeavor to provide educational tools
In layman's
And
terms.
if you can do that, could you please come and do that for our water rating?
In order that.
garbage contracts,
In order.
to provide educational tools that will allow
Yeah.
members of the public, all members of the public, to be.
I like its addition. I think that would help. It would help us in so many of the other things that we get processed.
I mean, it's your noise glossaries, it's all of the glossary of terms and FAQs, and it's all of that information, so that it's easy for somebody to come in who goes, oh, what does that even mean?
Yes.
Day-night averages, what is that? That.
I would also say, I was going to make this comment on the website item, but maybe it goes more here, which is something about process. So it's not just the terms, but
I
about
mean, what the roundtable does, or
no, but more like what the constraints of even our ability to act are within the legal framework, because that's really confusing.
It is very.
And also to explain, I mean, things like the select committee, well, that's so complicated. It's really hard to.
well, you could
But
add
anyway, process and framework.
Yeah, you could add endeavor to provide educational tools and historical, because some of it is legislation.
Right.
Some of it is
Yeah,
legislation, like
Legislation.
San Jose has operating hour limitations, San Francisco does not. I mean, people
And
don't
why is
know
that?
that.
Orange County has
Right.
curfews.
It's a couple of key facts that.
FAQ and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it would be like an
That would
FAQ,
be.
right? It's like, why can't the airports close at night? I mean, I'm sure many people ask that. Why are the planes flying on?
But you're also saying it's taking the step of referencing the legislation or the
Yeah.
regulations.
The regulations.
That limit our ability to say,
Exactly.
we can't make
We
this
can't
then
tell
go away.
Bert he
Right.
has to shut the airport at 2 a.m.
No.
It has to be closed.
And I think that needs to be said in the,
Right, and so I think that anything where we can add either FAQs, a glossary, whatever, however we want to organize it, that people could come in and say, why isn't this happening? Why isn't that happening? And it's a very clear place they can go to see the constraints.
Yeah, no, the funny thing is that we do have a lot of those materials. It's just they're not,
Extracted.
yeah, they're not extracted or they're not in the right place that somebody can easily say, oh, I see now.
Yeah.
So that also is kind of, I think.
Well, it would take some manpower. I mean, it would take.
I was going to say, do you have the bandwidth, or is this a special project that you bring somebody in to help you?
It's something I've been wanting to do for some time now.
I recently went to a website where there were like 6 questions, and you click on the question, and there was the answer right below it. It wasn't, it wasn't hard to find. I just went to the question I had, and I clicked on it, and it just downloaded my answer right then and there, and that's really easy. I didn't have to go search for it. It was.
I mean, I think that's the idea, is that we provide them with the information in an easily digestible.
Yeah.
As easy as possible. I recognize it's technical.
Yeah.
But it,
Anyway, my point was that there's substantive information that needs to be made into lay language and processed.
Yeah, you're right.
This is Kathleen. Can I comment one suggestion?
Yeah.
Kathleen. A great resource that's funded by the FAA is called NoiseQuest. And you can Google, I think it's noisequest.tsu.edu. It's some university, I've forgotten which one. And it is designed for the purpose, similar purposes that you're talking about. Now, it's not nearly as good as I know you guys could make it, but it does have some FAQs for starting points and some other things. And I think you'll find this really helpful starting point.
Great.
Yeah.
That's Penn State.
And I
Thank
guess
you.
Yep.
What did you say? Penn.
It's a Penn State. Penn State has a acoustic engineering master's and doctorate degree. So.
yes, you Penn State.
Well, we've got it up here on the computer.
And the website is funded by the FAA, at least in part, and it links from the FAA website itself to this, so that I put it on the Congresswoman's website a long time ago, because I felt that it was semi-public in nature, because it does link right from the FAA website.
Okay. Jennifer has a question.
Well, not a question. I was just going to say, Kathleen had brought this up, I think, at the last meeting, and I thought it was already part of it. I agree. That is just a really, really great website, and it has pretty much everything.
NoiseQuest.
And links NoiseQuest. Yeah. But I think what Linda was mentioning about what really confuses people, it would help to know what is federal advocacy, what is local, what is regional. And I was just looking back to, we ended up having to organize our thoughts way back when we did a presentation, and we listed what we can do together, and there were federal advocacy, regional actions, and local. And I think, people do need to understand what the select committee is and everything, and just to have a record as to look back, because somebody mentioned earlier, people come and go, and we can't assume that everybody knows what happened last year. And even though it's hard to explain, it's worth explaining it, even if it's a couple of sentences. So I would say, use that and then try to explain this harder part with an FAQ as well.
That's a good suggestion. Okay.
This is a
Good point. Good. Yeah.
Good one.
Do you have the
Thank you.
bandwidth to do that, James?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could make a little, kind of an ad hoc committee of our subcommittee to kind of work
To
with
look
them.
at the website.
Mhm.
So,
Or they can just be your beta tester, too,
of course.
in which case you could ask a member of the public. That can always be a scary door. I'm happy to help you with beta tester, right? But yeah, for people to get in there and kind of play around and see if you can find what you're looking for.
Right. No, it's something I'm particularly interested in. It's just kind of website redesign, trying to find information. I generally have like a 2-click rule. If you can't get to where you're going within 2 clicks or less, then it fails. So that's something I've been wanting to try to do with our website, and I think there'll be bandwidth available. As I might have mentioned, it will be happening soon, but we'll get some administrative help with me that will be able to do a lot of the helping with the meetings, answer email like questions, all the kind of little little odds and ends here so I can start focusing on sort of the bigger picture items and stuff like this and everything. So.
And I should say that, James, your presentation at the UC Davis Symposium was really great. I think
Oh.
that's actually a really good database of what has happened the last year.
Yeah, okay.
That itself could be.
It was a synopsis.
It was a very good synopsis, yeah.
Did they tape it?
I mean, it didn't include all the side politics, but it was.
They didn't.
It's not too hard to capture.
Everybody did
I did have a PowerPoint.
Sanitized.
Sanitized.
You want to send us? I mean, should we
Scrubbed,
send
as we say.
the members?
Yeah.
Yeah. Think you should send the PowerPoint to the members?
His conference?
Mm-hmm.
I could put it online.
Yeah.
Here.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, we weren't allowed, we were given access to all the PowerPoints, but we're not allowed to publish them. As a matter of fact, the Airlines for America slide, it was only to share internally, so I can't like have that published.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Unfortunately, so it's only an internal document, but there is one on the FAA website of that same statistic, just not updated. So we can probably get permission.
Well, but it's his.
But his, yeah,
His can.
his for sure. Yeah, I can get that. I can
It's
send that,
not a
email that
problem.
to you right now.
Yeah, no, basically it was just a general overview. It was kind of like, what's the history of the roundtable, has been working on and some of the constraints. And, I really did sort of try to take a good stab at, what were the bigger issues that we dealt with when it came to Metroplex and why it was just, the issue that it blew up to what it was. And so I had, some before and after flight tracks. I showed everything that happened down in Santa Cruz, everything that was happening up here. And basically the overall was, what was the title? It was the role of elected officials and community representatives.
Well, I'd like to hear that.
So,
There it is. Okay.
yeah, the big takeaway.
Oh, Next Gen Revisited in Northern California.
Oh, well.
So I had to talk you guys up as, not just wearing the elected officials hat, but well, I could send a presentation, but basically I had to kind of put it out there that, elected officials as part of this process aren't just, they're advocates, they're community experts, they're communicators, facilitators. I mean, I have a whole, breakdown of all different things that I had said, these are.
You are.
That's.
What a geek they are. Yeah.
I sent it in case you want to.
Okay. So, and then of course I use my favorite Apollo 13 clip in there to just show all the different complexities of what we have to work with every time someone says, well, why don't you do this? I'm like, well, ANCA says we can't. Well, why don't you do that? I'm like, well, we can't really do that. I'm like, all right, square peg, round hole, what do we got to work with? So.
We need duct tape.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
And it was kind of a broad overall, and it was also because, there was, people from around the country there also kind of had to give, this is our unique landscapes, this is our unique constraints, but the overall big takeaway is, who are the players involved with it, and what are they, how do they work together to bring solutions to the table? So. Oh, yeah. So this was the date.
Apollo 13.
Oh.
So the night before my presentation was the Oscars, and there was that snafu with the wrong.
Right.
And then the next day there was a meme going around that people were just,
putting whatever.
and I decided to, capitalize on being relevant.
Funny.
Anyway, so I could send that later, but.
You have a sense of humor, and you're always so serious at the roundtable.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes.
You've got this little alter personality.
People are getting very passionate.
Yeah. So,
So you're going to clean that one up.
So I could send that, but that would be, we haven't kept up with it, but generally whenever we do presentations, we do try to put them online. So I think we want to try to leverage the website a little bit more for, as a presentation repository. I know that we've taken all of the Noise 101 component presentations that Bert's office has worked on. We put those online.
Is it under resources or what is under? Noise 101? It's under
Yeah,
Noise 101.
and there should be the different presentations go through. So I think we probably need to go through that and update it. I know that Bert's office has made mention that they were taking a look at refreshing some of those presentations. for a revised noise 101 that we'd like to coordinate at some point very soon in the future.
Use noise metric.
Anyway, the point of this item in the work plan, just to rephrase, is we have a lot of information, a lot of work has been done, but it's not necessarily presented in a form that is accessible to the public.
Or understandable.
Right.
Comprehensible.
So
Right,
we
I'm
should
sorry.
endeavor to make it more accessible and understandable.
Sorry, that's right, it's an apple.
All right, send it to me.
Noise planning. How do I
Do.
agenda? There is a lot more that can be done to the website.
No FAQ.
We want to put a,
No, and that's something that we've talked about
Yeah,
several times about
yeah.
doing, so that's definitely probably priority number one
I would agree.
on that.
this is a little bit of an aside that probably affects the whole document, but in any of these places in the past, have you put a timeline? Or a priority? Just for example, like the website, if we think the website is a huge priority, that we should endeavor to do these changes in the next 6 months, but that might mean other things don't get done.
I can't say that we
Or do you-
have. I mean,
you
the
don't
whole
have
idea of
to,
the work plan are things that we aspire to do within the next calendar year, but
Yeah.
I mean, we
That,
can,
that might be good enough. I just was asking. I don't know.
We update it every year.
Yeah.
and so what,
Except this is a little behind because the FAA initiative.
Right, okay. All right.
But I agree with Linda's thinking, though, about
Mm-hmm.
prioritization is going to be useful for everybody, I think. And maybe that's something that we haven't done in the past, but given the things that have been hitting us,
Yeah.
and may or may not come back, I don't know. I think that's a good thing to even talk about. Or
Maybe
potentially.
I was premature. We should maybe discuss that after we're done editing the document. But
Okay.
Would you think that's the right approach?
I think that it would be helpful to prioritize, but it seems like everything's important.
Yeah.
You know, and you know,
some
this,
things take longer than others.
well, some things, something like this is important, and maybe we make it a high priority because we can get it done quickly.
Yeah.
Right. We aren't waiting for somebody else to do it.
Right. It's really up to us to, push the ball ahead. But some of these legislative items, that's important too, but we've got a ledge committee that is hopefully working to move that along quickly and bringing it back, but that's a longer lead.
Right.
And Sue Dupree says she went 6 months. She went action in 6 months.
We better start now.
We better start 30 years ago.
I know.
Okay. James,
so,
so we're going to L.
so we're jumping now to the legislative items. So we should be on the bottom of page 8 now. I think we get some light edits in here because I think there's only one item legislative-wise. And again, this is just a holdover from last night. So now that
The other
we're,
item.
Yeah, it is.
so now that we are a lot more engaged with our legislative subcommittee, there is opportunity here to put in additional work plan items.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that would come before the guest speaker thing. But
Need to identify the things that we just talked about this morning as unique items.
I think so, because this is pretty broad, and it really only kind of talks about the airport noise report that cost us $850. So this is not specific to what we talked about earlier.
so are there items this morning that we talked about that you think, just off the top of your head, that should start being baked into here?
Some of what we talked about was just getting our house in order so that we could bring partners in. So part of that was finding other roundtables, other entities. The other part was the very last issue, which was identify the EU regulations that might be applicable for us, the EU Stage 5 regulations. And then it was to respond to federal legislation. There wouldn't be any
Specific, I mean, you could
legislation.
specifically say the FAA reauthorization bill, because that'll come up.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll be repeated every,
So rather than giving it the SB 1405, just call it the reauthorization bill.
yes, because that could change.
And then what was the other one that you talked about? That was a whole 2 hours ago now.
One that's
There was
in,
the other one.
committee still. The email. I don't have.
I'm not
can't
sure
enter
which
the
one you're
Wi-Fi here.
referring to.
I thought there were two bills.
Oh, the Senate bill?
One that's still in committee.
1405. Yeah.
That was out, the congressional bill, and then there's the Senate, yeah, 1405, that's out of committee.
That's-
right now. There's gonna be going to the floor. But I was just gonna ask a question about, you know, in all of the advocacy, what keeps coming up is the metric and how, you know, DNL doesn't really, and I just wondered where is the location where there are more specifics? We've identified frequency of events are not being considered, and low frequency noise isn't being considered. And then there are these issues where planes, the newer planes are flying lower by design. Or Bert, I think you're back, right? Did I hear?
The three things that you brought up just
Yeah.
at the end.
Well,
And is that something that can be studied there?
well, there's a research section, so
Okay,
hold on to those thoughts.
okay, so that's.
Because that's our next
Yeah,
section.
so that'll go into.
Our,
But just to come back to what you were saying, so there's the FAA reauthorization, which will come up, I believe, every other year, but I'm not sure. And then the other thing was the next gen accountability bill. That's what I remember. Didn't you talk about that?
S320?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other Senate bill to influence, if we would want to add something to it, but we didn't end up talking specifics about, I don't know, did you get an update about this morning?
I did,
Elizabeth is going to
but
write a
then, yeah.
letter, and I think I think we're looking to the senators to see how to actually propose amendments to either of the S320 or the.
Right. I'm just saying, should it be on this paragraph?
well,
Thank you. I mean, I knew
okay,
that.
but doesn't the description of the legislative items kind of,
It's broad.
it's very broad.
Yeah.
And doesn't it just kind of
inclusive.
include all that?
Do you want, I mean, do you want to keep it broad or did you want to get specific? Sorry, that's.
I think we want to, I think
Broad.
There
we
might be new ones.
Might be new ones.
just
Okay.
need to keep
As
it
they
broad.
come up.
And I guess the background is just a little confusing to me, only because
In this draft.
because what are we saying? Is that the background is that we keep track of legislative issues.
Well, if you want to stop right there, the very first thing is what we said earlier, the roundtable endeavors to be proactive.
Mhm.
What did we
About
just
that.
say?
This is very repetitive of that other item, actually.
In the,
Well,
Administrative section.
back to here.
The one we just talked about was education.
He's got it up here, the legislate,
So.
proactive legislative and regulatory advocacy. It's the same thing we were talking about, what groups to join or to
Yeah.
align with.
So
But it's
AA,
basically
you're
like
back.
which
talking-
bills to
yeah.
advocate for, which administrative regs.
Is it redundant? In other words, it's just overlapping with AA?
I would combine them into one
Yeah.
thing, but there's two separate points. One
but
is
they are
about
two separate points.
organizations and one is about like specific issues.
Specific.
But the idea is, stepping way back, high level, the idea is the roundtable wants to be more proactive in advocating at the federal level, or presumably state, but not really federal. So that could mean joining a group or paying a lobbyist or I don't know what, but it also could mean just tracking legislation and advocating reactively.
It's hard to take a and because under administrative items, that's all of the A items.
Yeah.
Administrative items.
So I guess you just have to decide, is it
I
mean,
administrative?
the administrative item is whether or
legislative?
not to have a budget item to join a group,
And
right? But
that
the legislative, right, but the legislative item is what are we actually advocating for?
Right.
So it's up to you, I mean, however you want to have the document presented.
but we're kind of using an old document and kind of tweaking it.
So keep it separate or
You know
add
what?
it?
Since we're going to be looking at this NOISC in legislative,
Yeah,
let's just,
That's
okay,
exactly
that's
what I,
great.
yeah.
I have one question about that. If this relates to your budget, if you ever have to do anything with the website and need to add a little bit more to kind of update people on what the legislative items, I just point that out in terms of informing the public that, you know, this is a really great service to everyone, because especially if we want the public to participate in advocating for things, just to add that as part of the educational or website or whatever.
So I would add that to the list. I agree, and I would add that to the part where we were
On the
listing
website,
things.
on the website maintenance and updates. That would go back to
A1
A1, yeah.
and A9.
So the website would have an action page.
Or just even an informative information about.
I'm sorry, an action page for,
Well, if we're trying to get the public to,
I wouldn't necessarily,
we were
to
just
me, it's
talking
kind of,
about-
but then again, it's where I come from. So I heard active page, meaning here's an alert.
yeah,
Here, call your senator regarding SB 1405.
No, it's more informative, and then
like
people who
we're
are
tracking SB 1405 because it has this in it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what the lines are because
Between
I'm not
the-
familiar,
right.
but in case you're not able to do that, other groups and individuals can do that on their own and
Right.
then refer and say, see, for
Right.
example, and that saves everybody time.
All right, back to legislative. So we move AI8.
Yeah.
Into legislative items. I could take a stab at a couple of the things that we talked about as other individual items, but try to keep them general as possible. But that does capture the, discussing the reauthorization bill when it's renewal.
Kathleen, are you still on the phone?
I am, yes.
How often does the FAA reauthorization bill come up? Is that like a 10-year thing or a 2-year thing? Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be a multi-year thing, but it's lately been a 1 year at a time thing, as it was last year. So the question is, it's not clear. It's supposed to be multi-year though, but it hasn't gotten enough, backing to really
But
make it happen.
basically, I mean, theoretically, if we're tracking federal legislation, it's something we should track consistently over time. It's a moving target.
Should be, I'm sorry, should be, I missed it. Should be tracked what?
I was saying, if to the extent that we're tracking federal legislation,
Yes.
the roundtable will always consistently want to monitor the status of that reauthorization
Yes.
bill.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And you're not going to miss it. It's always kind of a big deal in the press, as it is this time with privatization being a big component or possible privatization.
Yeah, we better add that to our agenda items. Monitor privatization status.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
I know.
And if it happens, yeah.
Right.
It blows everything. Yeah, we don't even want to think about that just yet.
Just please leave the FAA alone. Let's move on and get our stuff done. It's going to help our people. All right. I'm sorry to rudely leave. I'll let me know, Linda, if anything comes up I need to know about, would you? Or anybody?
No problem.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Okay.
I didn't mean to be flippant when I said that because I actually did have an item to talk about when we're at the end because I want to jump back a little bit.
Okay, but when you're saying the privatization topic being agendized, you're talking about the roundtable of the full body or legislative or both?
Probably the full body. because the impact of it would be massive.
You need,
Bert would probably have the best
background
take
on
on that.
Yeah, background.
But
Staff report.
Bert has a good take on what?
We just want to
Privatization, Bert. How would it affect operations in San Francisco?
Oh, wow. There's quite a wide variety of opinions on that one I've been finding out. I thought it was been one or two, but no, there's actually quite a few.
Oh, interesting.
As far as the FAA goes, they've gone both ways. The Air Traffic Control Union is pretty much in favor of it right now, which I was surprised about. And the FAA management is split from what I've seen. Somewhat in favor, though, more or less. Airport, as long as it doesn't affect capacity and delay issues, we're okay.
Has there been any discussion of prioritization and how that might work, given it would be in the private sector?
It's definitely going to be the private sector. It's kind of waiting to see what the administration comes up with, because he had his own ideas on how it should be put out there from what the original proposal was.
So Bert, do you think that we should put this on our agenda for August and have a discussion about it, or at least a
At
presentation?
least an update.
So we know, so everybody can be more aware and understand what's happening?
I think it's pretty high profile. I mean, I've seen it in all my media flags as of late.
Well, you're in a special flag zone.
No, this is AOL. I mean, gosh, my home email address.
You're still using AOL, Bert?
Oh my.
Oh gosh, I have 5 people under me. I can't get rid of it. I do have a Gmail account if that makes you feel better.
No judgment here.
So do we have a comment from Jennifer?
Question, Bert, would NEPA still apply if things get privatized? Because I'm always, like, I'm not necessarily against things working better and more efficiently and faster and all of that, as long as there's a compromise and we can also modernize the whole noise issue.
It depends on how they structure it. If they pretty much say, okay, it's all over to you guys, then they may have their own way of doing things. If it is overseen by the FAA as a whole, then yes, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
And it wouldn't be NEPA direct. It would be the FAA's environmental guidelines based on the NEPA guidelines. And that was one thing at the symposium, was it 2 years ago, Justin, 3 years ago, where the FAA stood up there and said, when we rewrote our environmental, we followed NEPA exactly. So if you hold up ours to NEPA, it's almost identical.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so it is now 2 o'clock, just to be aware of the time. So 1 hour down, 1 hour left.
We're almost done.
So I'll see what I can come up with, a couple of, at least 2 more generalized legislative items, not 3. But what I'll try to do is I'll try to capture what we were talking about this morning on there, because those are things we'll be working on anyway in the legislative. So much will have those in there. The next section is research items. Traditionally, we put in here things that we want to look into, research, etc. The guest speaker has been a holdover for many years. It's been a while since we've had a guest speaker, and it could be from really anybody. I think in the past we've had Boeing present, talk about their next generation of their engines. I mean, so there's a variety of different things where if we can carve out some time in the agenda to be able to kind of provide some additional information for the roundtable there.
I think that would be nice. Yeah.
So
I like that one.
So keeping that with minor adjustments. RI2, so we, based off our conversations last time, we changed this from looking into the optimized profile descent, because that's encapsulated a little bit later, but changing the research item to backblast noise. And so we're going to replace what's in there to look into, to include that as something that we want to look into.
So Ann, do you have any comments on the
I'm
background?
scanning. I'm happy to see it here. I'm off the top of my head saying, what about APUs?
Backblast and maybe
There's a term of art for both of those. But what is it, Bert, when we talk about, Ivar has a word that he uses for,
To include both.
to include both.
Backblast.
Like ground noise on the ground.
Just ground-based noise.
Just ground-based.
Yeah.
Is backblast for all low frequency noise, for arrivals and departures, or just departures?
No, backblast is in the backblast area of aircraft, and that's typically where you'll find backblast noise.
But you were earlier talking about other, I got the impression you were talking about other low frequency.
That's flying noise, right? Low
But
frequency.
were you talking about as the flight down in altitude, there's another type of lower frequency noise?
No, just that currently all the noise measurements are A-weighted,
Yes.
and that's the frequency that is high, the high pitch. So for example, the Airbus 320 retrofit fixed that. But if you use C weighting or other megahertz measurements, you get that noise that goes through the walls and the bones, and that is
Well, low frequency is more penetrating noise. Think of when you're driving on the road and you get those cars with the big stereos in them going by, thumping along. It shakes your car too.
Mm-hmm.
That's low frequency noise.
Weighted, so C-weighted would be something in addition to
yeah.
backblast and APU.
And I think that impacts everyone. And I understand that Wiley did a report on all of this like in 2001.
We
For the
posted
San
that.
Francisco Roundtable or for San Francisco Airport. I would definitely revive that report and maybe just ask the same group, and it was sponsored by the FAA.
No, SFO.
Or SFO? Okay, even better.
We commissioned that study.
You commissioned the study, and so.
And it's on the Roundtable website, I believe. Is
Yeah.
it not, Jane?
yeah.
What is it?
It's a Wiley Labs low frequency noise study.
That has backblast.
Do you think that needs to be updated, Bert?
I don't think it is.
I don't really know. It pretty much stands, and since Justin's in a consulting firm that does things like this, I know his firm got into what they were looking at called LFSL, low frequency sound levels, sort of trying to be very specific on it. And did that go anywhere for you guys, Justin?
I mean, there's still ongoing research in that area that perhaps we could share. I mean, maybe we could share an update to it of what we know.
Share things, I'll put them in here. But I'll have to move those to resources and special reports. where it should
For
belong.
purposes of this item, I think the point is the roundtable should look at other noise impacts that aren't your traditional noise.
Yes, and how that can feed into
That
the
include the ground base, that might include low frequency.
Right, because how do we then come to an agreement of what are the elements that we're looking at in terms of impact? We want to say that it's not just DNL. And so what else is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not talking impacts. You're talking metrics.
Metrics, yeah.
Different noise metrics.
And ultimately measurements, because when the noise monitors go out,
Right,
we will
the
be able to
metrics.
capture that data.
So when you have like time above, you are looking at N70, let's say. I mean, there's a whole variety of them out there. And then there's always going back into the spectral data. I mean, there's many, many different ways of looking at noise. But there's, like Australia uses the N70 in addition to another metric. And some of the European countries are also shopping around to see if they're using the right thing right now with DNL.
So let me throw this out here. If we jump ahead to RI5 on page 12, we have use of single event noise metric to evaluate noise outside of the 65 CML.
That could be pushed into this.
Yeah, so, and that's where I was kind of letting you know, Jennifer, that that would be maybe somewhere where we would squeeze something in there, because that's where we start talking about looking into noise metrics. This has been a holdover from the last 2 or 3 versions of the work plan.
And it just feels that the research has been done by almost everyone already. We know what we're sitting on for years, but now, like, okay, so what do we do with that now? And how is that going to be reflected in either adoption? You know?
In case of low frequency noise, it was pretty much discussed that it was almost impossible to mitigate. And
But we're going to have flying cars soon, so I think.
yeah, the cars are going to go vertical. I know, all those neat things. But
I go down the street at lunch.
So maybe the question is, what is mitigation? Because there are things that can be done in terms of design and airspace reorganization to, you know, to support better optimal routes which do not impact people as much.
well, there's different aspects there, Miss. When you look at arrival noise, yes. When you're talking backblast noise, no. And the reason I say that is because the runways pretty much are where they are and the communities are where they are. So it's pretty hard to beat.
It does open the doorway, though, to home insulation, window upgrades, maybe to a greater, I'm forgetting my terms, not the 65 CNEL, it might be a different
Threshold.
Threshold, yeah,
The noise
the circles,
contours.
the contours, thank you, the contours. It might mean something's done with the contours. I know that the people of Brisbane, that the areas, even South City, even Assemblyman Mullen's mom's funeral was outside that metric, so the church had to stop service 3 times for gap departures on there. So maybe that opens up the door to some remediation.
Well, right, and I don't want to get too far into this rabbit hole, really. This is more about, I mean, if we want to talk about it later, great, but I want to make sure that we're trying to capture these as items to work on. So I think in terms of the noise effects of aircraft, I'll reword this here, but generalize it to more of a ground-based noise, so it captures the APU stuff, and it also captures that. But everything else here, I think, is pretty generalized.
Yeah.
Mostly gets on taking advantage of discussing future innovations that may mitigate impact. So it leaves the door open there to be able to.
If there's a typo, that says invitation, you mean innovation. Like invitation.
Future
So
innovation?
point research item 2 will be adding ground-based, and the research item 5 is about metrics.
So,
So maybe we should put number 5 right under this so that, I don't know.
Because they're related, kind of.
They're kind of related. But this airport cooperative research program. That's my recommendation. Put that.
move RI2.
Yeah.
Okay.
This number 4. 3.
Where are we at? 2. So it'll be 3, and then 3 becomes 4.
Okay.
Which is the ACRP
Have we ever done that? Have we ever used that?
I don't believe so. But,
I'm going to put that in the same category as NOI.
Yeah.
but, well,
Right.
if I can have Justin maybe chime in a little bit about the history about, submitting problem statements, and how.
Sure. So actually both Bert and I sit on different panels for different projects currently, and we've actually submitted a problem statement before together with SFO sponsoring it. HMMH currently has submitted multiple problem statements to ACRP on things like noise cancellation for backblast noise. And so I think, being involved in ACRP is a great thing to see different research and different things in the future that are occurring, whether it's, in the private sector or NASA. There's a lot of different developments that are going on. So it might be, we're still applicable, I think, to stay involved and perhaps sponsor future problem statements. And ACRP likes when problem statements are submitted by, various groups together, gaining, more support.
Okay. Justin, when someone submitted a problem in the past and they produced a report, are those public?
They are. So the problem statements are submitted. They go through a couple rounds of panel reviews of seeing, which ones should be more of a priority and the best benefit for airports in the community. And then they're selected with a certain amount of funding, and it goes through a whole process of finding a vendor, and then that final report is made public.
Okay. I honestly, I guess I was asleep when we received those reports, but I don't know, I don't have recollection of us using it, but I think it is compelling to have it as part of our work program because it's something we can use.
Yeah. Well, I would just follow up, Justin, if there are any that have already been done and produced that are relevant to other things in this work plan, maybe we should revisit them or look at them again.
Yeah,
There are
I
actually,
think,
if I may, Justin,
yeah,
there are actually quite a few.
Yeah.
I do want to say that they are written by, well, a lot of times firms or universities, and they're very, very dry technical documents. So,
Meaning we might not get through them.
Meaning we'll get
they're tough reading even for me sometimes.
Yes, they are.
We get down to the bottom line and we get our questions answered. That's what I want to know.
But
really,
I think they could be summarized, and I think as the technical support to, as you have us on board now, we could summarize them and give you an overview and always keep you up to date on those research efforts.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something relevant, not for make work.
Yes.
Anybody ever served in one of the panels? When I saw that, I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Really? Has anybody ever served from the round table?
I don't.
Oh,
Dave Carboni did.
Dave Carboni did? Okay.
Yep.
That's what I
I've
wondered
served on 2 now.
Well, that's
Okay.
good.
The first one was the effects of aircraft noise on children in schools nearby. And the current one is basically creating noise metrics for commercial spacecraft.
Ooh.
Wow. That one's a fun one with Bert.
It's interesting,
He's lucky.
but I'll tell you, it's out there, man. It's real science.
Okay. let's move on to the residential sound installation program update.
Justin took a stab at just revising some of the text to be more relevant to current standards. Otherwise, though, it didn't really change too much.
So what does this mean? Is that the roundtable will get updates? What is the roundtable supposed to do with these updates? Review them, and then what? Address community concerns?
Bert, what happens now when you get a noise complaint? I mean, is there any active program you can offer to a homeowner, as we've had obviously a number of people show up to complain about that? Is there anything available to them today?
For somebody that's within the noise contour and is interested in having their home mitigated?
Yep.
Well, yes and no. If they're within the noise contour and the home was not mitigated before, typically we catch it before they come find us. Although there are times where, you start talking to your neighbor pretty quick and they put you on to, hey, I got my house insulated. Anyway, we do get from the county assessor once a month their database, and we go ahead and put it into our system. And we then contact homeowners that bought a home that was not previously mitigated due to the previous homeowner deciding they didn't want to do it. If it's within the noise contour, we contact them and offer them the program. Sponsored by the airport, not the individual cities any longer. We currently have 37 homes we're looking at mitigating with the FAA on the 80-20 grant program, and we hope to have those done in the next year and a half.
How many was that?
37. Yeah.
And so the airport provides 80% of the funding, and the residents have to come.
No. FAA provides 80, airport provides 20, homeowner none.
Okay.
And then the other ones for homes, because this did have come up, homes that were remediated where the windows have failed or where some of the windows weren't done, what happens?
All the windows are done on the homes that qualified. For homes that had windows that failed, the airport's currently looking into that to see if there's something we can do. Although the policy typically is if you buy any house and something fails in it, washer, dryer, window, door, whatever, you replace it yourself as the homeowner. And that's been the program. So once it's out of warranty, and some of the warranties are fairly generous, 12 years or so, and if an item failed, you went ahead and replaced it as the homeowner.
So as an example, since my house is within that contour and I have two windows that I need to replace that the airport said they wouldn't do, according to my now almost 95-year-old father, that the airport said no, they wouldn't do those. It would be helpful just to know which windows would meet noise standards. If I'm going to replace them myself, what do I order?
We have a consultant that we use, the Michael Payne Group, and we were able to contact them and put a homeowner in touch with them when they contact us.
So this is a perfect example of something that would be super helpful on our website.
Yeah.
We have a summary of it, like basically just Bert, what you just presented.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on your website?
No.
No, Bert.
We have a lot of it on our website. Yes.
He has a website?
Well, I mean the noise at San Francisco. But I mean, like, what all the questions Ann just asked.
Well, and part of this
are FAQs.
My dad swears that the airport only wanted to do half the windows and not the windows that actually directly face the airport, which would get the noise. And it seems illogical to me. I do know my own father, but I wasn't hanging around at that time like I am
can
now.
clarify some of that. Would have been the city of Millbrae.
Okay.
That's where he lived, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Would have been the city of Millbrae that was in charge, and they would have been making the calls on what the mitigation was at the time. if since each city had told the airport early on, hey, look, we know our city the best, you keep out of it and just give us your money and we'll be good to go, and get the money from the FAA, we'll be all right. So we basically worked with the cities. They set up offices to handle. Many of them contracted out a consultant or handled it themselves. They then organized the homeowners that needed mitigation, were within the contour, put in their city bylaws or charter or preamble or whatever that they were a noise-impacted city. And then from there on out, those homes that were within the noise contour were treated. And some cities did a beautiful job. Other cities did an abysmal job. They wanted to do as many homes as they could, so they put the cheapest window they could find in that just barely qualified.
So whereas people might be blaming the airport for a poor quality product, it may have been the city's decision.
It's true.
Sounds like it was the city's decision.
Yeah, I'll go follow it up on my end. I wonder how many other cities within the various contours that meant something to. It's just really weird, the windows that they chose to do and the windows that they didn't. They chose windows on the side of the house that are least noisy to fix.
All right.
Well, when you choose to mitigate a project, you basically go in and do the monitoring. If they figured out that the windows on the back side of the house were getting the noise reflected into them that way, then they may have chosen that. Many of the homes, they just did all the windows. Some of them, they were very specific on which windows they did to get the biggest bang for the buck, and then went that route.
So Bert, we really need to move on because we're not going to finish, I don't think. We've got like 40 more minutes. But as this is written, I think it covers what we're doing. I think I found your residential sound installation program on your website. Is there a way that we could maybe link that on our roundtable website?
I created it to do it.
You did? You just did that now?
Well, not on the page, but I made a note.
Okay, good. Okay. So moving on to.
Does this point even need to be on the work plan? It's not really.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
Well, no, these are, I'm going to go clean this up, but a lot of these, this is like my notes, so.
This residential sound installation program?
Yeah, I just meant like, do you need an R4? Do you need this?
Yes, we need an R4.
Okay.
I
But the R4 is just, I'm just saying, it's just that.
It's an update. It looks
It's
like
an
just an
update.
information
Well,
update.
But it's also that we are to find and inform eligible homeowners that their residents can receive. I don't.
But Bert
does
does that.
the roundtable doesn't do
Roundtable
that.
do that.
doing
Bert's
that.
doing that. Right, exactly.
No, but I think the point is if you listen to some of the Brisbane people who are outside the contour, they would automatically not qualify. They want the contours changed, especially in light of next gen where there's more noise concentrated
That's not
to
what
qualify.
that's
Well,
not
that's not the.
what this says that it does.
All right, so what do we want this item to do?
Well, I can tell you for the Brisbane folks, we'd have to get the contours down to 55.
So,
Yes, Jennifer.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's kind of related to the ACRP and some of the comments I heard from Bert and what you've just mentioned, Ann. We have a situation, and we talked about earlier how everything is under the construct of the old system, and now we have next gen.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to be updated, and to hear that, oh, it doesn't fit because of this square and this square, and therefore there's no mitigation for, let's say, low frequency noise, and therefore, does that limit the responsibility, or is this a question to ask? This is a problem statement, which is mitigation is defined currently in a very narrow term, which is the past, and now there's next gen. So whether it's going to be that they're updating the metric or updating the contours or doing something for people, you know.
okay, so
how do you
I agree on your premise, so then the question is, for this group, is it a work item for the roundtable to explore changing this, because effectively changing the program?
Because then so
Not-
many other things
not
would flow
updating.
under it.
Right.
Exactly.
So is that, Bert will say no, right? But is it worth going down that path? of trying to change?
For the city of Millbrae, I'm going to say yes.
And Brisbane
And-
say yes too.
And I'm going to guess that San Bruno is going to say yes and Burlingame is going to say yes.
Oh my God, they're all in District 1. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Your constituents are going to say yes. Thank you.
But no, but I think we should define exactly what we're trying to say. Like, what is the work item
what's the
for
word
this
item?
group
Because it
relative to the sound and legislation program? Because I think just receiving updates is passive, and
Right.
Bert, we can ask him. Bert, I appreciate what you were just explaining to us about it. That's new to me because I didn't realize there were those kinds of I didn't realize you were proactively seeking unmitigated homes, and that's great. We can ask Bert to report to us once a quarter, but that doesn't change the program. So if we are trying to change the program, then we should say what we're right.
I think you're right, and what we see, what had been like work program items in the past were more like almost task oriented or review oriented instead of an overarching. Okay, this is what our goal is that we need to work on to make new policy, right?
That's what it would be,
To handle these issues that can be enumerated bullet point wise underneath it.
Bert, what's your budget for that program at the moment?
Not my budget. It's part of finances. And last I recall was somewhere in the vicinity of $35,000 a home.
Well, it goes per home. There isn't like a
Well, that's the average. They average it out.
What was the federal legislation that established it, though, Bert? I mean, that's what I look to. Because if it's being paid 80% by the government, by the FAA, I'm guessing our current administration isn't going to be anxious to expand that program.
They can be done under the Airport Improvement Program or the FAA grant funding. On the FAA set aside, there is a certain amount of money set aside each year for noise. So either noise monitoring systems, residential sound insulation, that type.
So do you have then the ability to basically administer the program, set up and administer the program, and then look to those various funding sources?
That's what's being done by our finance department, yes.
So you can make the changes even though the feds are paying for it. That's what I wanted to get, to make sure that we could do those things, that we could in fact potentially make changes.
There are some serious guidelines that we have to follow.
so the contours are not defined by SFO.
Oh, that's what
We usually get a consultant to do the contours for us.
A consultant.
No, but I mean the definition of a contour is the FAA.
That's FAA.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the big things that people are trying to do is to change the threshold from 65 to 55,
Right.
which would solve many of these cities' problems. So that's
Because
one
it would
area.
kick in.
But, you know, we put a graph up there and supposedly, you know, noise has just disappeared at the federal level, you know, so much. So there should be a lot more money available to fix what's
Well,
left.
I want to stop you there. Part of the program guidance language for the residential sound insulation program is that the house has to meet 45 decibels on the inside. And so newer homes in particular, ones that are
you're insulated.
designed for the efficiency under, Title
24.
24 and 29 for construction standards, they come out of the box compliant.
So they wouldn't qualify anyway. But then they
Right.
wouldn't need, they're going to have it.
Well, it depends on who's on the inside and how they feel.
And Justin reflected that in there. That's right there. It's which is the two-step process.
But just, I know you want to move off this, but it's not just changing contours to 55. If cities were given the individual ability to get the biggest bang for the buck, so more houses but not doing it the right way, you've got a lot of homes out there that were only partially done.
Mitigated.
And that,
Okay,
I
so
can't speak for the other cities, but my guess is that we've all got constituents that are saying, wait, you only did part of my house. Even without the failure of a window, you only did part of me. So 2 sets of problems.
So what's the ask in here? I mean, how do we change this to an actual?
I mean, if you want it on your,
Can it
if
be
you
a
want it
research
on,
item to just look at what
Well, it is a
current
research item,
standards are?
it's just,
it's really, rather than update on the status, it's look into,
It's analyze
recommendation.
retrofits. It's really,
Well-
it's a retrofit kind of an issue because it's existing stock, not new. And it's some failure, some not done. So you're going back either
That's
way.
a
okay, so for the
Yeah.
case of,
Yeah.
the case of Ann's father would be to research what happened and to find out if there's any, if that house would qualify for existing funding under existing
And how would the
regulations. So that's one
roundtable do
thing.
that?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's what I'm wondering.
I don't see
I don't
how
think
the
that's us.
roundtable can do that. What,
No, in your
First
case,
off,
it's
it's
City of
do that.
Millbrae, right?
Right, well, I'm going to go back and start
Yeah.
doing my own research
Yeah.
inside, and I'll talk to the adjacent cities that are that were within that first set of,
Yeah,
first couple sets.
but
And see what
anyway, I
we
was
find out
dividing up the type of houses, so the round.
Well, the other
would be
interesting
to-
part of that was we had 2 cities that elected not, 3 cities that elected not to participate that were originally eligible back in 1983. Was Foster City, Burlingame, and Brisbane. The city fathers at the time looked at the amount of the city within the noise contour and decided that the needs of many outweighed the needs of a few, and they didn't want to declare their cities noise impacted and possibly affect real estate values.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
oh dear
Are you
me.
referring to other communities near
It's
now?
interesting just to get the
Hilarious.
history written down. I mean, if nothing else, so the roundtable members.
Yeah.
know
Well, I think
the
to your point,
things you chose.
See, on Bert's,
I'll
you
go
go back and look at that, because it does have a bit of history.
Anyway, to summarize.
Yeah.
So if you could be, the roundtable will, post or connect information on the existing Santa leasing program on our website. But the question is there any desire of the roundtable to pursue?
I don't think it
whatever
would be a
to change it?
roundtable. Yeah, I don't think it would be a roundtable initiative. It'd probably be individual cities working with the airport, is my guess, is the better way.
But I thought we had power by coordinating and working together.
Oh, and I'm not suggesting otherwise. It's just a question of how you, in terms of the resources.
I mean, this is going to come back to the full
It's gonna be-
roundtable anyway, so you'll have the other cities who are represented, and I'm not sure if ultimately the contour was changed, it might bring in some additional cities, like Daly City that wasn't originally included. I honestly don't know
I guess
where.
the question really
I would-
comes
Daly
down
City was originally in.
Oh, it wasn't, okay.
The 3 that were not were Burlingame,
Burlingame and
Foster
Brisbane.
City, and Brisbane.
But you're doing some insulation in Burlingame now, aren't you? At least the portion right next to Millbrae, I thought.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Let's just talk about how we're going to make this work plan, the language here, and work for us. Because if we leave it in as it is, that we're going to receive these updates on a biannual basis that includes the number of residents within the currently approved noise exposure map that are not insulated, the number of residents that decline participation, and the estimated number of residents currently being insulated. I don't think we've ever
done that. We've never done
We've
that.
never received a
No.
written report like that, okay? And that is what, this is like just modifying something that we had before. So, but it says the background, it says the roundtable has received updates from the airport over the course of the residential sound insulation program. And the program focus, so it says what the steps are to do something, but the roundtable as a body can't implement these steps.
Right.
Correct?
Right. That's
Okay.
what I was getting
Yeah.
to. I think that the roundtable can help and assist, but it's individual cities that would
Yeah.
need to understand how many of their residents are affected by this.
So is this,
Or
receiving this report enough to give individual roundtable members who are part of this that need these installations the ammunition to go to their councils and then, or to the residents and have them apply for these grants.
I think only if we're willing to look at the whole program and say it should be expanded to include some of these additional.
Right.
And
Well, it's two things.
It is
One
two.
is the existing program and the
effectiveness
eligibility
and
of
eligibility.
current homeowners to apply for things through the program, as Bert is already doing.
Right.
So there is some
The airport's already doing
value.
it. That's why I said the airport's
but
already
there is some
doing
value.
that.
The
to
program is basically done as far as the residential sound insulation program goes. That's why the cities got out. And that's why the roundtable wanted to stop getting reports on this.
Because it wasn't even, we weren't doing, nothing was happening.
But for the 37
Right.
homes that
We
you're working on
insulated
now,
over 15,300 homes. We have a zero impact area as far as California is concerned. And as far as the homes that are popping up, they were considered done under due diligence and a deemed waiver by the state of California, since we contacted the homeowners multiple times and tried in many different ways to try and get them to participate. If they elected not to participate, then it was just done. And so as the airport has been doing more than a due diligence on it as far as the state of California is concerned, we've gone back and tried to find homes that have changed hands that were not mitigated and try to mitigate them. And the FAA said, yes, we'll go ahead and participate with you on that one.
yeah,
So I don't know, maybe just reporting on the status of that, I think, where this was headed originally when it was brought back to life.
yeah, so I think that's useful information at some point to maybe have you just do that, basically what you've just said now, but do it in a presentation to the roundtable. And then done, maybe only once, not necessarily even once a year.
We've actually presented multiple times on this topic.
I'm
Changing
sure
it,
you
yeah.
have, but it's a lot of new people and there's a lot of questions and people want to know what's going on. So yeah, so there's that. There's that presentation on the existing program. And then the second issue is changing it, if that is a desire of the roundtable.
So it says in this paragraph, biannual. That means every other year?
Yes.
Starting
Yeah.
when? On odd years or even years?
When you want to revive it.
Bert can do it in his sleep, so anytime.
Oh.
Right, Bert?
I don't know about that, but we can get it going pretty quick.
All right, Jennifer, one more quick question.
Yeah, just at a broader level for the second part. There seems to be also these broader policy issues and funding issues. I mean, eventually, I think a lot of the savings and efficiencies in the future will contain more funding for doing more mitigation. So I don't think that, I think that's the more important thing, and I'm glad that you're going to look at that. Because
Except that we didn't write it down as part of the work program. So I'm asking if that is part of the work program.
Then
Is it just we're getting a report on the current status of the program?
I like the way that you said it. There's the status of what's going on, and then there are changes to the program.
Yeah. That is a big.
But I'm only questioning who did the program. It's the airport, right? Not the roundtable.
not the roundtable.
It's not the roundtable. Because I'm not disagreeing that there may be changes required or appropriate, but I'm questioning where
Yeah,
the
what it would
original
be
who developed the program.
It's the FAA program. We'd have to. It's basically another legislative item, effectively, which is that we would have to come up with a recommended new definition of noise and
You're with
change
it?
the contours. Blah 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 blah.
I think the FAA is probably already thinking about that because they are revising different things. They know change is ahead.
So Bert, was this
Yeah.
initiated by the roundtable when, 35 years ago?
I believe it was initiated by the communities in the airport working together through the Airport Noise Cooperative Agreement, and it became one of the items the roundtable wanted to watch.
But they didn't, the roundtable never did anything other than watch it. Is that right?
That's correct. They received the reports on how the mitigation was going and how many homes were done and which cities were doing well and which cities weren't.
People don't get that. Who created the Denver? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out. With the
Who
FAA?
created
Who
which?
created the program?
Airport community.
The airport did.
The airport did. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It was you, the airport.
Created the roundtable?
No.
No, the
No.
program.
The residential sound installation program.
Has passed because this is
This was
considered
her-
one of her
Wow.
Yeah.
things, so I have no, and her husband, I was at dinner with him last week, but
Anyway,
he's up in Oregon. I can get some history on it, but
okay. Can we just leave it in as it is right now? We're going to bring this to the roundtable for further discussion. This is not hard and fast agreement. Okay, so we're down to R16, RI6, sorry, use of unmanned aerial system in the national airspace system. Well, the roundtable will monitor legislation and research related to unmanned systems. How will we monitor them?
If I may offer a suggestion on that one,
Yes, please.
just receive from the roundtable consultant. Sorry, Justin, giving you work here. Receive from the roundtable consultant news on drone legislation. It'd be a quick report at the end of the roundtable meeting.
Why? Sorry, I'm being devil's advocate. Why is it useful? I think it's information.
It's just information.
question,
And I think that's valid because every community
Yeah.
has passed a drone ordinance, right?
we haven't yet. And in fact, I've been wondering because
Yeah.
with the
You haven't?
proximity to the airport,
Yeah.
we have a different set of rules. My other question is on helicopters.
That's not unmanned.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah, that's a different item. Mhm.
So RI7, expanded membership beyond current membership area.
And this was also a discussion. Keep it broad and research, bringing back the conversation about
Expanding the membership.
So we wanted to capture that as if we have an ad hoc subcommittee, look at it again, review it. So that's what that's trying to capture.
So your cities have already passed drone ordinances. That means there's a model ordinance out there. Can we at least add that to sharing with the roundtable a model ordinance?
You know, there's in our work plan here.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's just one model ordinance. I think it's through the FAA. I think they really have the guidelines.
They have the airspace authority, so they govern that. Many of the local legislations are more for the peeping Tom type thing.
Right. No cameras over. Okay. RI8, where's Sue Degree? Research aircraft noise as a health issue.
Just put 6 months.
She just said it reflects everything that we talked about this morning. As long as it's
6 months.
reflected, then she's happy.
6 months involved.
I like her thinking. Very optimistic.
Yeah, that was also, Justin brought that in from the initiative document, actually.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
I think that is well written and captures a lot of,
Except it's only talking about underlying flight paths. There are noise issues that are not underlying flight paths.
is affected.
You just say affected communities and delete the, like, then you don't have to think about it.
It's a broad
There
enough.
we go.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
I like that. Moving along.
Jennifer, you had a comment?
Yeah, that one of the consensus with all of the groups, and I think Sue was expressed it earlier, that, you know, she doesn't want these health studies to kind of take forever and to hold anything up. But what we've found is that there are already existing studies literature review of all the studies available, and it sounds like right now the FAA is still waiting for some of their own studies. And so I can't see how any of us would be doing a study, but it's also in the legislation that they're going to select universities, to do these studies.
Right.
But I think that to the extent that legislators and elected officials can push this to be a more efficient process where we can do something with the recognition that this is not an annoyance issue only, it's a health issue, then that could translate into supporting things like metrics, contours, and all that.
So maybe we could say research existing and proposed existing studies and ongoing studies, health studies, and provide an understanding of national and international research on the health effects related to noise.
And someone,
But we're not going to do research.
yeah, and someone just happened to send a really great batch of peer-reviewed literature and all that, FAA sponsored. I will forward all of that to Jane.
Great.
Because that cannot, it's like been done.
I'm sorry, let's back up, Elizabeth. What was the research existing studies?
Well, I would say research existing and ongoing or future studies to provide the roundtable an understanding of the national and international research on health effects related to noise.
That way it doesn't put us on the hook to actually do this.
Right, yeah. We want to research existing and
Got it.
ongoing.
Nope, I got it.
And if we identified areas that weren't currently covered by any research, do you think there's that, like the concentration of noise over a smaller population, has that been studied?
Well, it's really just quantity. I mean,
That's
that's
more figuring out which one of those are relevant.
So for the work plan, it would just be, and if identifying any research gaps, then to encourage research in those gaps. If there are, there may not be any.
right. I think the health studies are there. It's just what are going to be the actions to correct it. I mean, there are always new things. I've just heard that low frequency noise causes infertility in men. PM2.5 causes women to go crazy. Like, there's all these different things that I'm sorry to say.
That's not talcum powder.
And I'm sorry.
Right.
And so, like, okay, there's always new things, but there are some foundational things about either, I'm not going to get into the studies themselves,
All right.
but it's just more that this is not simply like, oh, I'm bothered,
Okay,
I'm annoyed.
we have 3 more to do. Okay. All right. Aircraft operations, airspace. Northern California optimization of airspace. We'll monitor. We're going to monitor.
This is one that I looked at and I thought, well, I don't want to monitor.
Well, and we didn't get this far last time, so by all means, how do you think we should reflect what it is we've done and what we're going to do? Because this predates our initiative.
Yeah, it does. And so that's why I was wondering whether we should update it to reflect that or have a new item.
You want to review the effects and make recommendations of changes.
Yes, and I think we should be even more potentially proactive to interface with the FAA. I mean, I think we should bug them.
Yeah.
I don't think we should wait for a response from them. I think we should be on them on a regular basis. I mean, just
The roundtable will aggressively
right.
pursue.
Will aggressively pursue status updates and continuing efforts on the part of the FAA to implement what they promised they would do, because it's really at the heart of our whole thing. We spent a year practically working our butts off in multiple forms.
Again, they could come back in September or whenever and say, well, you know what, we really can't do any of these things. So,
oh, I agree, but I think it's our job to really.
Does that solve it? That we will aggressively pursue?
Yes, I think it just needs to be much more.
For purposes of this document, do you want to specify all the specific procedures? I would say no.
I would say
I would
no.
say just
Oh,
reference
yeah,
the
yeah,
document.
just reference the document.
And then so you skip.
Because we had the
Not skip, but
roundtable,
you-
obviously, we were talking just about the roundtable, not the select committee, but it's essentially they were overlapping
Yeah.
recommendations, even slightly different, but
They have
For
more
the-
than that. This is not comprehensive.
Right.
So basically, you delete 1, 2, and 3, and replace it with this item,
Right.
general item, right?
And I haven't seen the term something like, this ties into the previous item, which is health. You guys witnessed it. It's a bit of a public health crisis. So the urgency associated to this is that you all work so hard because you felt and knew and saw what it's causing to people, even though they're not here today. You know what's going on.
Right.
And so it's how to keep that. And I think the FAA recognizes that, and they're making a lot of progress in a lot of different ways. I don't think they're going to come back and say we can't do nothing.
Right.
But it's up to us to tie in what we know with some specific action. So thank you, Ann. This is really the way to solve.
We have to go after that. I mean,
It's not
I think that's-
accepting
No.
the status quo. It's
No.
changing things around a bit.
it's proactively pursuing them to make sure they do follow through on what they said they were going to do.
Okay,
You're
so,
saying drop the 3 bullet points? That was one.
No,
2, 3,
no, I
or
wasn't
A1,
saying that.
A2, A3?
I would. That was my suggestion.
That was her suggestion. I think, I'm not sure
A1,
we,
2, 3,
the only reason I said
replace it.
was thinking not to drop those is that Bert's already doing those. He's already tracking. We've been having in our last couple of meetings, all of the reports.
yes, and I think those are legacy items.
Those are
that-
legacy too.
But
Okay.
at the same time, they're still relevant regardless, so.
Well, I would maybe then suggest just rewriting it to be more comprehensive, so it's not, because otherwise.
Well, which one?
Oh, under A1?
Well, because A1, A2, and A3 are all incorporated into the document.
Got it. I think
So
perhaps
you could emphasize them.
it may be what we started with in this is a separate item, even it separates out from the Northern California optimization, the OAPM, if you will.
Yeah.
Because that's legacy. That's legacy. So, originally I thought, do we need a whole separate agenda item back either in administrative? It could even be number 1 item for the roundtable work plan, which is stay on the FAA
Yeah.
to ensure that they're moving forward with
Yeah.
all of the efforts that we put in.
Anyway, you can
My
probably
A1
rewrite this.
My A1, I'm open if you wanted to merge them in and reference the document, but for those of us who are adjacent to the airport, when we're talking about night, it
Oh, yeah,
also
we know.
said to not increase the use of runway 1 left and one-way run right. It's in the document, but if we're highlighting 3 here, then I'd love to see that one beef up a little
So
bit.
then I'd say do the big overarching thing and say including these 5 priority items.
That have been legacy items. I mean, these preceded what we did.
No, I understand, but one of the ways to help a lot of the overland noise is to increase the use of runway 1.
Sure. Oh, yeah, I'm not,
So-
that's why I wanted to keep them in. I wanted to keep all these out articulated
But,
up there.
but
now.
one of the things that we've done since I've come on board is to really say that using runway 1 is not a solution
Right.
because of the backblast noise.
Mhm.
So it's not a completely win-win right
So
now.
what we're saying in these bulleted items, we want to pluck those out of the initiative response.
Actually,
At least at nighttime. That's all.
Well, let's see how we could break this out, because I understand what Ann's saying, and I think that's fine. It's just a matter of making sure that the other ones that follow, 2, 3, 4, yeah, Stick, Port, Woodside, where is the next one? Or are those only 2?
It's just
3?
the 2, because
Jim,
then
will
it goes to.
Those were more of the legacy
Well,
issues.
now, we skip ahead to the very last item.
7.
Justin has
Oh,
you on
nighttime
the
procedures. So we have a little bit of mixture here.
Yeah, this is all over the board, so.
Yeah, we kind of do have a mixture.
Here we've run out again to really think through this.
Mm-hmm.
And from this morning, and just for you, Sue just had wanted to make sure that in the letter, the legislative letter, it talks about trying to use over the water as much as possible.
Another, yeah, that's been one of the big goals all the way along.
So this might be, I can't speak to the specific procedures because a lot of them, of course, are good for one person and bad for another. You never know, and I can't translate all that. However, the Massport, Boston Logan, their approach in comparison to the select committee is that they went into an agreement with MIT and the FAA to find ways to create practical solutions to these focus noise problems, to the trails. Because I think that's what's been identified in the whole NextGen implementation is that concentration is not settling in. And so what is the FAA? And I think the FAA is trying to find solutions to that. So I would say that is in the benefit of everyone because it's not just, you know, it's all the routes will eventually end up like that. So it's going to be everybody in these situations or resulting from the vectoring. So it could be, you know, as a result of one finite route, there's a, you know, the explosion of the vectoring associated. So I would just, I don't know, is the term is dispersion or the term is what, but to say to promote solutions, I mean, the select committee said fly higher, find more optimal routes. Maybe just repeat that because that's.
I think our response to the initiative is what we need to focus on.
Yeah.
But the issues that we
put forward in our report,
and not to kind of add or morph anything out of that. That's our document. That's our Bible. That's what we've submitted. That's what we are focused on pushing through.
And committee or roundtable report?
We're roundtable.
We're not.
This has nothing to do with the select committee. Okay, this is the roundtable's response. And so, however, and I think that this nighttime procedures plan came from our organizational meeting that we talked about that, but it's in the document. This nighttime procedures is within our document, I think. I could be wrong.
It is.
Okay. So if we could have one overarching work plan item that covers that we're going to aggressively work to have our initiative response responded to and implemented.
I think it's going to be the first item.
Yeah.
I've already created notes here that we need to reflect it up here that we're going to take more of a monitor, not just a monitor.
No, we don't want to monitor.
To be a proactive approach of implementation and any modification. And I think we've got plenty of language in our existing documents to do that. And then in the background area, that totally needs to be revised to reflect the work we did in 2016 on the document, and make references to basically the work plan that's
exactly.
That's in the document.
I mean, we don't get confused.
Exactly, you could take all this out. Because it's basically taking it back to that document saying we had a series of very clear recommendations.
Because here's the thing, we don't know what the response is. And so once the response comes in, if there's a handful of items that are quick wins, we're going to obviously do those.
Right, exactly.
So,
and otherwise, if we get declines, then we're going to turn around and start pounding on those.
So I got to give up this room in about
3 minutes.
Oh, yeah. So what do we want to do? The original thought process was that we would have something a little more fleshed out to put in front of the roundtable for consideration and approval on the 2nd. I don't know if this document is there yet. So
I think B.
I think I think you can work on a little bit more.
Well, no, I think I have enough. It's just how much of this do you want to see first before just going to? I mean, are you comfortable with me making these edits?
Circulate it by email.
Yeah, I was going to say circulate it, and give everybody work back from your schedule. When would you need final comments from all of us? And then.
Well, because we want to try to do color copy stuff again. We actually have to wrap up the packet by next Thursday.
Oh, geez.
But I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna have to bifurcate it a little bit. I've got a little bit more wiggle room on this.
Yeah.
So I think
it
what's
doesn't
gonna
have to be color.
No. So that's what I mean. I'm gonna probably. So I will ideally need to have it.
What we got into that?
Yeah. Let me. I'll work backwards and do the best I can with that.
But you'd still like our comments by July 20th, that's Thursday?
probably by the end of next week. So why don't you give me until Monday or Tuesday to spit it back out to you, and I'll give you guys at least,
And rather than
I'll give you guys at least a week on it.
And rather than concept, you want wordsmithy? Or are we past concept other than this last one? If you are all comfortable with merging all those ones, I'm okay with that.
Because I think otherwise it's too spotty.
Yeah.
It's like we have
And
this,
it's
we have
not,
that.
it's not comprehensive.
Well,
And
no,
it
it's
could be
not.
read as, oh, well, we care about those three
That's
things,
what I
but
mean.
we don't care about
Right.
the other ones.
So I'd rather have them all be gone and say
Yeah, and
reference
just
it,
say this, what
you know, because
said with
they,
the
we gotta go.
The Bible and everything refers back.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're not reinventing the wheel.
And we're not monitoring it. We're gonna,
No.
Aggressively pursue, I like that.
Okay.
we're gonna monitor your
We talked
non-response.
about lobbying earlier this morning.
Good.
There's a couple of different avenues on that.
Okay.
All of the work and
Yeah,
time
taking
and
a
effort.
break.
My goodness.
You coming to tonight?
No, no.
All right, I am going to disconnect.
Mary Ann is, of course.
So thank you, everybody on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. You're there tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Has your summer been good?
It's good.
The room that we have more noise is becoming our.
Oh, the
And she
And it's
had her PK hat on.
There's
I don't think she's on the left.
things
And I
mounted.
go, Deborah, not, this is the airport roundtable.
All right, everybody on the phone, thank you very much.
Thank
for
you,
your-
Vern.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh, my God.
Bye.
Thank you. Crazy.
Nice to see you.